Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. This is part 2 of English translation of the talk. Another treatment for Takabbur by Mufti Muhammad Usmani Damat Barkatahum. The boundaries between these spiritual phenomena are quite blurred. On the one side, there is Tehdees-e-Naimah, meaning that if a person is talking about one of his qualities or one of the blessings of Allah Ta'ala upon him with an intention of acknowledging Allah Ta'ala's mercy upon him, it is an act of worship. But if he's boasting about the same things to let the other people know how superior to everyone else he is, then it constitutes takabbur, which is a major sin. However, differentiating between the two is not an easy task, and only an expert who has been trained in the treatment of spiritual illnesses can do so. Tehdees-e-Naimah, that is, acknowledging Allah Ta'ala's blessings upon oneself, is such an important act of worship that Allah Ta'ala has commanded the Holy Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam in the Holy Qur'an to perform it. And about the bounty of your Lord, do talk. Surah 93, verse 11. In obedience of this divine command, the Holy Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam recounted Allah Ta'ala's blessings upon himself on many occasions. On one occasion, he said, I am the leader of the sons of Adam, but I do not take pride in it. In obedience to Allah Ta'ala's command, he acknowledged that Allah Ta'ala had made him the leader, the master of all the progeny of Hadhrat Adam alayhi salam. However, he was also mindful that this Tehdees-e-Naimah should not enter into the realm of Takabbur. So he immediately added that I am not proud of it. I do not boast about it. This is worth learning that even the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam was so careful that any of his words may not cross the line of takabbur, even in appearance. True Tehdees-e-Naimah is also reflected in a person's behavior. It leads to a person becoming more humble and prostrating and submitting himself with modesty in front of Allah Ta'ala. This is because this person acknowledges in front of Allah Ta'ala that, oh Allah, I was not deserving of this blessing. I was helpless to obtain this blessing on my own. It's only through your mercy that you granted it to me. This acknowledgement leads to even more humility. On the day of conquest of Makkah, the Holy Prophet ﷺ was entering that city as a conqueror, the residents of which had forced him to leave his city of birth, had plotted to kill him, had thrown filth over him, had thrown stones at him. Had it been anyone else entering that city as a conqueror in those circumstances, he would have been holding his head high with arrogance. His neck would have been stiff, and he would have been shouting, there is no one like me. But the Holy Prophet ﷺ entered Makkah in a fashion that his head was bowed to the extent that his chin was touching his chest. Tears were running from his eyes, and he was reciting the following verses of the Holy Qur'an. Surely we have granted you an open victory, so that Allah may forgive you of your previous and subsequent faults, and may complete His favor upon you, and may guide you to a straight path. Surah 48, verses 1 to 2. This is true Tehdees-e-Naimah because reciting the verses Inna fatahna laka fatham mubina, the Holy Prophet ﷺ is reminding himself that this conquest has been granted by Allah Ta'ala and that is Allah's blessings upon the Muslims. And this reminding oneself of blessing of Allah Ta'ala upon oneself leads a person to developing humility and gratefulness and to orientating oneself even more towards Allah Ta'ala. These are signs that this is Tehdees-e-Naimah. On the other hand, the signs of boasting and takabbur, that as a person becomes even more stiff-necked, he starts thinking that he's superior to others and others are inferior to him, and he starts treating other people in a belittling and condescending manner. At the very least, in his heart, he starts thinking of himself as being better than others. Now, delineating between the two, deciding whether if a person is saying something good about himself is due to takabbur or Tehdees-e-Naimah is not an easy task. This is where a person needs a mentor or a sheikh. That mentor is able to tell him that when you are describing your own virtues, this is not Tehdees-e-Naimah, this is takabbur. If a person wants to know if he's saying good thing about himself out of the takabbur or Tehdees-e-Naimah, he should monitor his inner self, whether he is developing humility or not, whether khushu, that is humbleness of heart, is growing in his heart or not, whether he is remembering Allah Ta'ala more than before or not. If the person is developing all these traits, it means that he has got Tehdees e Nemat in his heart. This is a sign of a true mu'min, a true believer, that the more he is blessed with Allah Ta'ala's benediction, the more he prostrates before Allah Ta'ala in humility. He becomes more aware of how insignificant he is. He submits his ego more and more in front of Allah Ta'ala because he realizes that he's Allah's subject. He acknowledges that in his heart. Therefore, whenever Allah Ta'ala showers one of his blessings upon him, his heart acknowledges that, O Allah Ta'ala, I did not deserve this blessing. It is your mercy that you have granted this to me. The more the blessings increase, the more he remembers Allah Ta'ala in his heart. Allah Ta'ala had granted Hazrat Daud alayhi salam and his son Hazrat Sulaiman alayhi salam with many blessings. For example, he blessed Hazrat Sulaiman alayhi salam with the power to rule not just human beings, but also jinn, animals, birds, and wind, a rule that was not given to anyone before or after him. After giving him all these blessings, Allah Ta'ala said, do good, O family of Daud, in thankfulness. Very few from my slaves are thankful. Surah 43, verse 13. It has been reported that Hazrat Dawood alayhi salam had made sure that no moment in whole day and night should pass without some member of his family doing Allah Ta'ala's zikr or remembrance or shukr. He had divided the 24 hours upon his family members, that from this time to this time, this family member will be performing zikr, and from this time to this time, such and such family member will be performing zikr. The more he was gifted with Allah Ta'ala's blessings, the more Hazrat Sulaiman alayhi salam turned towards Allah. He made his prayer, which has been quoted in the Holy Qur'an. My Lord, enable me to become grateful to your favor that you have bestowed on me and on my parents, and to do good deeds that you like, and admit me with your mercy among your righteous servants. These are the characteristics of a true Muslim, that the more he is gifted with Allah Ta'ala's blessings, the more tawazu or humility he develops, the humbler he becomes, and the more he turns towards Allah Ta'ala. On the other hand, is this the character of a malevolent person, that the more blessings he receives from Allah Ta'ala, the more arrogant he gets. The Arabic poet Mutabanni has said that if you respect a person of good moral character and treat him well, he'll become your slave. It is because a decent person never forgets if someone does good to him. On the other hand, if you respect a morally deficient person, he'll become even more arrogant and you will need to fear him. Similarly, if a person receives Allah Ta'ala's blessings and as a result he submits himself more and more in front of Allah Ta'ala, it indicates that this person is grateful to Allah Ta'ala. If he mentions that blessings in front of other people, acknowledging it's a blessing from Allah Ta'ala, and even then he is apprehensive that he does not commit takabbur or bragging, then this is Tehdees-e-Naimah. However, if he boasts about the blessings Allah Ta'ala has granted upon him, that I am so and so, I can do such and such things, and believes himself to be better than others, then in that situation, regardless of the words he uses, this is takabbur. It is not Tehdees-e-Naimah. While this is the theory of Tehdees-e-Naimah and Takabbur, usually a person cannot apply this theory objectively to his own behavior. That is why a person needs a mentor who is an expert in these matters. When the mentee tells others about Allah's blessing upon him to other people, he should then tell the mentor the details of that disclosure and ask whether he had crossed the boundaries of Tehdees-e-Naimah while doing it. The mentor will tell him whether he had or had not, and where the boundary between the two lies. Once the mentee goes through this process 15 or 20 times, he'll start developing an internal sense of such boundaries. Then he'll start realizing himself where his disclosure of Allah Ta'ala's blessing upon him was within the boundaries of Tehdees and Nemat, and where it had crossed into Takabbur. May Allah Ta'ala give us all the motivation to act on these teachings of Islam. Ameen. Wa akhiru dawana alhamdulillahi rabbil alameen.